It's the night before EVO, and the LowLandLions brought me a Street Fighter 4 Basics video. I realize that my crowd is primarily StarCraft 2 related, and you might not be familiar with Street Fighter 4. But with EVO starting this Friday, now seemed the perfect time to give everyone a rundown of the essentials of Street Fighter 4. The idea is here to give you a basic understanding of what's happening and what people are talking about, so that you too can join the legion of Street Fighter 4 stream monsters and enjoy the action live from EVO. Now this is a very last minute movie and we've got a lot to cover, so let's get this rolling right away. First off, we've got the normal moves. Every character basically has a set of 6 basic normal attacks, and there's generally 2 names for these. One that's easier to understand because it's very related to the button you're pressing, and one that is used in conversational Street Fighter, which is what you'll hear the casters use a lot. They can be divided into punches and kicks. The normal punches are the light punch, also known as the jab, the medium punch, also known as the strong, and the heavy punch, also known as the fierce. So that is light jab, medium strong, heavy fierce. On the other hand, you got the kicks. Once again, we're going to go light, medium, heavy. You've got the light kick, aka the short, the medium kick, aka the forward, and the heavy kick, aka the roundhouse. So this is light short, medium forward, and heavy roundhouse. Now obviously the most contested of these names has got to be the forward, because when are we moving forward and when are we just hitting the key forward. And now it's important to note that we can use these attacks in different positions. Aside from just our regular position, we can also do these attacks while crouching, and obviously they have very different properties. We can do it while jumping straight up, and we can do it while jumping forward or backward, all leading to very different attacks. Now that's not all. Animations also change when we're up close. We can see here the fierce, suddenly very different when I'm up close and with very different properties as well. It's not that much important if you're just watching the game, you know, fierce is a fierce, but just keep in mind that the animations do change and what you're watching can vary depending on the position. Now aside from these base 6 normal attacks that all the characters share, all characters also have a unique attack. The input on that varies, and also the properties of that attack does vary. For example, here Sakura has a overhead medium kick. The idea for that is that an overhead cannot be blocked by a crouching block. A regular medium kick you can block by just crouching and blocking. However, an overhead you cannot. Now of course this gets a bit more confusing when you realize that the input for this is actually forward medium kick. And we remember the medium kick is actually called the forward. So now we've got moving forward, we've got the key press forward, and we've got a forward forward. Honestly, this is where the notation gets a little bit out of hand. You probably want to use medium kick. You've already heard me mention blocking while talking about overheads, but just to touch on it briefly, normal attacks can be blocked without taking damage. Normal standing attacks can be blocked either while standing or while crouching. Crouching attacks can only be blocked while crouching. Jumping attacks and overheads can only be blocked while standing. You do this simply by moving back, the exception being a cross-up. A cross-up is an attack which actually lands on the other side of the character. For example, Sakura's medium kick, jump in medium kick, which I've just been doing, has the potential of hitting the character on the other side. Suddenly that means you need to move forward depending on the timing and from the position I'm jumping in on you. So this is where blocking suddenly becomes a lot harder, and unless you know the exact timing and positioning of a cross-up, it can be a bit of a guessing game. You'll hear the commentators use the term cross-up a lot, so this is important to note. Blocking isn't a perfect defense either though. Blocking will not defend against a throw. To defend against a throw you can obviously choose to dodge it, but at the same time you can also tech a throw. To tech a throw, you have to hit the throw yourself as well, so it generally requires a bit of prediction to actually land it successfully. That actually lands us at our next bit of terminology as well, the tick throw. A tick throw is done by forcing your opponent to block an attack and then throwing them right after. The idea is that either your opponent predicts this perfectly or they will eat the throw. Otherwise, they might try to tech a throw while you're still doing a regular attack and eat the attack instead. Now we are 5 minutes into this video and we haven't thrown a Hadouken yet. clearly something we need to fix. The Hadouken is one of the many special moves that characters have. Some special moves are unique to a character, some are shared between several characters, and some might have slight variations for different characters. You can tell that some of these special moves can be charged up, and some of them, or generally almost all of them, have an EX version. Almost all of them, I should say. The EX version of a move is more powerful, but it replenishes your super meter. It drains your super meter, basically. You can replenish your super meter by hitting your opponent, forcing your opponent to block an attack, or throwing your opponent. Also, doing a special move without the EX version replenishes your meter. And it should be noted that if you actually take a hit, or actually block an attack, you also replenish some super meter. It's not as big as actually doing an attack and landing an attack, but it is still significant. Now there is one more thing to note about that super meter. Once it is fully charged, your super attack is available. For many characters, their super is more important than the EX version of their moves, and you will see them basically charging meter all the time until finally they can unleash their super attack. Another good use of super meter is actually cancelling an attack. Let's look at Sakura's extra Yoken attack. Doing this attack into a block leaves you very vulnerable. However, you can opt to cancel the move with a focus attack at the cost of an additional 2 bars. This actually leads us to our next question: what is a focus attack, or FA? A focus attack is an attack that can absorb one hit and either knock back or crumple your opponent, depending on how far you've charged it. There's 3 different levels of charge from focus attack. You can tell from the white flashing inner animation how far the attack is charged. One of the most common techniques when it comes to focus attacking is actually referred to as a FADC, focus attack dash cancel. This allows you to absorb a hit but cancel the rest of the animation by dashing out of it. Now the 3 levels of focus attack actually have very different properties. The level 1 is just very quick. The level 2 will still not go through a block. Meanwhile, the level 3 will actually leave your opponent crumpled. One of the moves you can do is cancel after doing a focus attack level 3, and while your opponent is crumpling, get a hit off and continue your combo. Now please note that there's much more to learn about focus attacks. For example, that some moves are armor breaking. That is to say, for the scope of this video, that's a bit too extensive. For that I refer you to the Shoryuken wiki. To watch EVO successfully and enjoy it, you don't really need to know that much more about focus attacks. Before moving on, there's one more attack that we have to discuss, and that is the Ultra Combo. You can find the Ultra meter next to the Super meter here in the purple. At the start of the match, the player has to select either Ultra 1 or Ultra 2, and has to stick with that option between the rounds. You charge your Ultra meter by taking damage, not doing damage. When you've lost 45% of your health, you'll reach the halfway point, and you'll be able to unleash an Ultra attack. You can find that point at this line in the middle, seeming where you have that technology to point that out. Doing an Ultra at that stage will do 66 of its maximum potential damage. To do a fully charged Ultra attack, you have to have lost 90% of your life. Because the limit is at 45%, not at 50%, you can in rare situations actually unleash 2 Ultras in one round. Ultra combos are vicious attacks, and something that you should be very careful for. Now with all that said and done, let's actually look at the rest of the heads of this player. So we've covered most of it already. It's important to note that there's a timer in the middle, which is right now set to infinite. That's because I'm in training mode. In a regular Street Fighter 4 match, that will actually count down. At that point, once it reaches 0, the person with the most health actually wins the round. This means that in a situation where you have very little time left and you have a health lead, you can opt to play defensive and wait for the clock to run down. Next to that, on the left and right, of course, are the health bars. You would say that the health bars are very trivial, but there is a little catch to it. Actually, only the first 50% damage you do is pure damage. Afterwards, you actually have damage reduction applied on your attacks. That is to say, if your opponent is under 50% health and you do an attack, you do 5% less damage. Then at 30%, you actually do 10% less damage. And for the last 15% of your opponent's life bar, you have a 25% reduction applied. So the end of someone's life bar is a lot harder to finish up than the beginning. Another way of getting affected by damage scaling is actually combos. Every additional move decreases the damage done by 10% except for the second hit of the combo. It's a little bit confusing, but just remember, the first two hits of a combo, 100% damage. The third one does 80, and everything after that is 10% less than the previous hit. It's important to note that the combo damage scaling goes by move and not by hit. That is to say, a move that has multiple hits counts as one, but a move that actually has multiple key presses that lead to hits is counted as separate hits. Also important to note in Street Fighter 4 is getting stunned or falling dizzy. As you take damage, your stun meter goes up. Right now we have the attack display on, which you can't see in regular matches, to actually denote how much stun you take. Right now it's at 0 of 900, if you guys can see that. Should your stun meter reach a maximum level, you end up falling dizzy. At that point, your opponent is free to continue their combo as they see fit. You can decrease the time you spend dizzy by shaking out of it or wiggling your stick. You do have to be careful that once you do get out of your stun, that you're not pointing forward though, and that you're actually blocking the incoming attack. The amount your stun meter goes up depends on your opponent's attacks, and there's no set formula for it. Note that the stun limit is different per character. Also, just because the health bars are equally long, that does not mean that each character has the same amount of hit points either. Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition features a total of 39 different characters with different movesets, but also different stamina and stun ratings. You can find more information about that on eventhubs.com. I'll be sure to put a direct link to this in the description. Do note that you should only look at the chart you see right now and not the images, which are for Super Street Fighter 4 and the original Street Fighter 4. You can take this information, copy paste it, and drop it right into an Excel or OpenOffice document. Sort it by whatever tables you want, and that way you have a nice little organized chart on the stamina and stun rankings, whichever information you want to prioritize. Here we see Seth with 800, 900, the squishiest character in Street Fighter 4. On the topic of event hubs, there's two major fighting game related sites where you can find a wealth of information, far more than I'm presenting right here. The previously mentioned event hubs, but also SRK or Shoryuken.com, especially SRK's wiki, which you can find by clicking the guide link on the main page, is an amazing resource if you're new to Street Fighter. It has everything from frame data to the most basic information on movesets and whatever you might ask, character lists, whichever. Now of course keep an eye out for our players. The LowLandLions will have Ryan Hart, aka Prodigal Son, and the ever lovely Kayane representing them at EVO. We'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, Mad Cats, PureTrek, Sennheiser, and Western Digital for their continued support. Now this was Martijn, aka Mumbles. You can follow me on twitter.com/MartijnMumbles and on the glhf.tv stream. So now that that's over, you guys should have enough information to enjoy the Street Fighter 4 action live from EVO this year. You're going to be able to find the stream at evo2k.com/live. I hope to see you guys there. I will definitely be hanging out in chat as well, stream monstering it up. That said, please remember that there's a ton to the game that I haven't even started mentioning yet. We're talking option selects, reversals, buffering. There's just so much more to the game. Please remember, I'm a StarCraft 2 commentator, not a Street Fighter 4 commentator. I will leave you guys in the capable hands of the staff that will be producing the Street Fighter 4 stream live from EVO this year. And I hope to see you guys there. I hope you guys enjoy the show as much as I know I will.